Timothy Hashem.
Continue from last week?
We're going to continue from last week, learning Hilchos Beider. Siman Shin Yutes.
Tough Kuf Mevo.
I think we had the same situation.
You can get to the end yet. Okay. Continue. We continue.
Tov. Page Tov Kuf Mem Hey. Page Tov Kuf Mem Hey.
Tell us Purim cutting outside. The moon is almost full.
We did you give him, right? Not some sort
No,
of special.
do Gimel.
So which one is that? And pay what?
Page Tov Kuf Mem Hey.
All right.
Tov Kuf Mem Hey. We're going to be skipping a few sifim, but I want to just read the beginning of one of the sifim.
Talk about the sifting on Shabbos.
Yeah.
The last one we did.
Sif Yud Gimel. Top of the page, Sif Yud Gimel. Yeah. Tov Kuf Mem Hey, top of the page, Sif Yud Gimel. Yayin or mayim, wine or water, shem tzulim, which are clear. Clear, see-through. Liquids, mutal asanam mashameres, was allowed to pour them through a cloth which is meant to take out any of the pieces, I'm not sure what they're called, the residue in the wine, sediments in the wine. Was allowed to pour it through such a cloth.
In the filter?
Filter, yeah. Kedei shiyu tzlulin yoiser. If they already have no sediments in it, if you want to clean it even nicer, it should be even more clean, it's mutter to do that. Even though you're l'chora doing beider. Oy afilu, even more, furthermore, pnei hakimchin. Shal pnei hayayim, on the top of the wine, sometimes there comes certain foam. There's also a name for it. We don't see in our wine, but when I spoke to some older people, they said that used to be wine was sold. They weren't. Now they make them much cleaner. But on the top of the bottle, the top of the wine, you would rise. There'd be some type of white substance there.
Sediment, some sort.
There's sediments that would fall to the bottom, which are parts of
But
the.
this was on top.
Yeah, something on the top. When you make alcohol, so you're allowed to pour that into a meshameres, which is like sort of like a sifter for liquids. Even though it's going to remove this white foam, it's separating the bad from the good.
They call it cheesecloth.
Cheesecloth. Okay, good. I should not flew by kisman dakin, or what happens? You have little pieces, little tiny pieces, sticks that fell into it. But it's mutter to do it. The eini choshev kibeider. Why not? We're going to learn a klal over here. Hoyel v'roi lucia l'roi bnei adam b'loi breidazu. Yois, it's roi to drink. For majority of people drink wine with these things in it. So even though you personally, you're makbid and you want to have the wine even cleaner to remove these things, that's your personal hakpada. Roi bnei adam, don't look at it as this is psilus. They look at this as oichel. This is oichel.
That's why it's not boirer.
Not boirer.
Same thing with the easy filter.
Oh.
Easy filter.
What's easy filter?
People put on the water. There's little bugs in the water. They put it on attach the easy filter. You don't know what it is?
They don't do it anymore. They used to do it.
Oh, they do now.
Still do it?
Yeah.
They have filters. People, but
because you could drink it the way it is.
Yeah.
well, first of all,
You can see this. You can see it. In the light, you can see little.
all of our sinks have on it little filters on the top, right? Again, these are not meant to. The water is drinkable without it.
Right.
Some people put in a filter because they want it to be extra clean, extra. You know, they a lot of people nothing to do with the bugs, and they like pashut. Some people do it because they like filtered water.
Any filter. Any
Right.
water filter, no matter if it's under the sink.
So Lamaisa, right, underneath the sink is also the same idea. It's a meshameres, but hayois it's roy lucias roy bnei adam lechura. There shouldn't be a shaila. The only thing you can clear over here is that when regard the bug, certain people are their rabbanim hold that it's usher to drink the water in New York because of an issue with the bugs. So like those that hold so like them, l'chorei it is an issue of psoilus because they don't want it. It's not royal
So what
siyah.
they do? What they do Shabbos? This Rabbanim.
So I'm not sure how you judge. There was a lot of discussion when the Shiloh of the Shiloh of the Teloim in the waters of New York came out. Some people were telling those Rabbanim that are answering the water are getting themselves into another Shiloh, into a Beira Shiloh on Shabbos, because they're telling everyone to put up. So actually, I know some people who are so makbid that they fill up their pitchers with water before. It only pertains to the drinking water. So all their megalas, the water they wash their hands was not an issue. So they could use the issue is the drinking water. So they fill up 2-3 pitchers before, and they're good for Shabbos.
Yeah.
So, but l'maisa, lav dafki you have to do it because even lefi shita some that the water we have to judge. We have to. I'm not paskening here. I'm just bringing up the discussion because I don't know the issue fully to say something about it. We have to understand what does it mean royal siyah. Halachically royal siyah. Pashas royal siyah means that you could drink it, but over here it's drinkable. The goyim would drink it, but there are certain yidden that won't drink it because that rabbanim hold it's aser. So it's not royal siyah for them.
It's not boil.
But maybe we could tie even if we so shayla is if we go by halachically roy, or would that make a difference? Even though it's roy to see it, but physically it's roy to drink. It's an issue of halacha. Does that change the status? And
Well, those people don't eat or drink, put on the air conditioning. Like eat that.
I mean, basically,
Or use time.
it has if it's roy. Even if some people hold this asa, right? But I think that kemeduma that roiv people don't filter. I don't know, but roiv people. The shaila is what roiv do we? How do we go majority? We say that majority of goyim don't care about these bugs. Do we say majority of yidden don't care? Majority of from yidden, majority of the city. How do we judge the majority of it? We say it's royal siyah l'roiv b'nei adam. But it's possible that even lefi those that hold this aser, they would have a way out by in this Sif Yud Gimel by saying that maybe there's a majority of people don't, and even though they hold that it is an issue, majority of people do drink the water, and therefore since majority do drink the water, it's not considered bayr, it's not considered a tikkun meichel. You didn't do a tikkun meichel. You personally hold it's psilus. You can't on your own decide what's psilus. It's on it's
You're not upset. It's you just want to be more pure. It's that instead of you could drink it like that. You just want to make it pure. So that's it.
correct. Even those people themselves could drink it. It's not an issue.
You just want to make it pure. So you're not boil over here.
Yeah, the only thing we have to think about, we learned earlier in the Chazbayr that if you want to eat, and you have an apple and orange before you, piles, and you don't want to eat the oranges now, so you take out the oranges from the pile, it's bayr. And you're chayiv. If you put those oranges away for, let's say, for
later.
next day, or whatever it is later. Now, what's the reason? Even though the orange is not bad, it's good. It's a good orange. It's not psoilus. However, the very fact that you don't want it,
They make it psoilus.
that makes it psoilus. You don't want it. So here we have to understand. Why shouldn't we say the same thing here? The fact that you don't want it,
Make it psoilus.
make it psoilus.
But it's not psoilus.
But I think over here, we have to know what.
There's no other way to do it but this way.
Think about it a little bit because B'chlal, you have to remember that the rule of Bayra only applies according to the Alter Rebbe and the most Paiskim. The whole concept of Bayra only applies when there's two minim, two types, apples and oranges. But within apples, within oranges themselves, doesn't make a difference how you want to choose your apples, how you want to choose your oranges.
You can take a rotten apple out, but you could take any apple.
So therefore, the kolzman, these particles are part of the wine. They never separated. Lav dafke, they're considered another min. Okay,
They're not
I just wanted to
considered.
learn the beginning.
Especially that you could drink it. It's not like absolute. Especially you could drink it.
The oranges you could also eat, so we have to understand really the chiluk.
But you say it's two separate things. It's oranges and an
Right,
apple.
so over here it's
This is
different
part of
because
the
it's
wine.
all one.
It's part of the wine.
Yeah.
Not psoilus in the wine. You're
Right.
the one that eat it.
L'chora, that's pshat.
There is more of an issue when it comes to eating salad, because there are some vegetables in the salad where either somebody doesn't want to eat or they can't eat.
Right. So you have to take what you want to eat. Take what you want to eat. I don't want to go in further in the Yonim, and that's on the Geil Halacha about this sifting of wine. It was common those days. Our wine is very well sifted when it comes to us. So let's take a look to Sif Yud Ches, which also discusses the fact that there are sediments in wine, but some at the beginning of it sediments in wine. But these halachas are very negaya to us even today. We have issues sometimes when we have, let's say, people have in their cup, they have like a certain particle they want to remove. In the wine, let's say a piece of the corkscrew, the cork. They want to get rid of it. What should they do? You know, they see something, a little piece of hair, a tiny little piece of hair, and they just want to take it out. So what's the best way to do it? Because what you have in the soup, let's say you have something in the soup and you want to remove it. So that's especially the Geil, the halacha. Let's take a look at Sif Yud Ches. Sif Yud Ches. You have wine. We're talking about wine that has sediments on the bottom, pieces of the grapes. Mutter lares benachas mikli v'chaveri. One is allowed to pour for one keli to another keli. Kedei shapsoilos v'ashmarim yisharu b'shulei hakli. You have on the bottom of the wine, let's say, there are pieces on the bottom. They sink to the bottom, the sediments. You want to separate the wine and the sediments. So the Alter Rebbe says over here, you can pour slowly the wine out, and slowly, and the sediments stay on the bottom. And you pour into another cup, which is going to have just pure wine. How you're separating. So he explains when you're allowed to do this. Although that is long, she is zoyer, and is careful. Second one, Sif Yud Ches, sheksheyafsik hakiluach, umaschilin leidet, hanitzutzes ketanis. When the pouring, the pour starts to stop, and it starts to come the small drops, that are coming from amongst the sediments. The sediments on the bottom have still liquid in it, and some parts of those drops start to separate. Azai yafsik, one should stop. Leave a little bit liquid together with the sediments, a little bit of wine. Don't pour out all the liquid. If you don't do so, these pieces, the little bit of liquid which is left that you're pouring out, that's going to be bayr. Kolzman, you're just pouring wine. It was wine and wine, pouring wine. Good. So what did I do? I didn't was bayr anything. But when now I come to the bottom of the cup, bottom of the bowl, and I'm pouring it out, I'm separating the last bits of wine or liquids from those pieces on the bottom. That's where I'm hitting into the bayr shayla, making that actual separation. So you have to leave it there. But at the outset when he's pouring, when there is no clear psoilus, the psoilus is not seen, it's on the bottom, you don't notice it. You'll see it's on the bottom of the bowl. Lav bayru, it's not considered bayru. Excuse me, this is a Gemara here. Sif Yud Ches is a Gemara. L'chein mutter likleit shuman hatzaf al pi hachalav shekoin smeten el mayla sheyagia samach l'chalav yiniach ksas mimena im hachalav. It's talking about over here on the top of the milk there's a cream. What?
Whey? W-H-E-Y?
W-A-H. The Russian people like to eat the top of the best of the best.
Whey it's called? W-A?
W-H-E-Y.
H-E-Y.
It's like the milk.
Taf kufmen
It's like when you open a
Kufman.
yogurt, you have the...
Yes, exactly.
The fan
Yeah.
on top of the other.
What's on top of the yogurt? Like this liquid?
Solidifies. Yeah, a little bit.
That's called the smetana. Smetana is the cream, and it's
Kid grab a little bit of it.
supposed to be the rich part.
The rich part.
The rich part. So, what happens if you have this smetana? It's floating on the top. So you're allowed to remove it, and I want to take it out. I don't want it. I want to take it off and remove it. You're allowed to take it off, separate it. You want to maybe that's called a shuman. But when you come close to the layer that's touching the milk, leave a little bit with the milk. So what did I do? I didn't separate anything. I didn't make a clear separation between the two. What the psoilus and the eichel. No, I left them still mixed together. I just took from the outer layers, but the actual layer that was next to the milk, I didn't touch. This is only when this smetana, this cream, you want to eat it for today. However, if you don't need it for today, you're just doing this for tomorrow, it's another isser. Nothing to do with
You're preparing from today to
later. You're preparing from today for tomorrow. You're not allowed to prepare from Shabbos for the weekday. So, what happens if one is worried that the milk or this cream, the cream will spoil, and it won't be good if it sits on top of the milk? So you want to separate it. So if you're going to lose money from this, going to have a loss, so you can have a goy do it. What's the logic behind allowing a goy to do it? Because the rule is that when we're not allowed to have a goy do malacha for us on Shabbos. I'm sorry to let Oilam know, but we want to spoke about it. But you're not allowed to ask a goy to do malacha on Shabbos, only in certain situations. Not pashut. Oh, a goy, Shabbos goy, he can do whatever he wants.
Oh, I forgot to turn off the light.
The Shabbos goy is allowed to do certain things, but not everything, and therefore one has to either know the halachas or ask a rav when it's okay to have the goy do something for you. So now, you can't have your goy running your business on Shabbos, right? You can have your store open maybe and have your J and have a goy sitting behind the counter, right? So not everything is allowed by having a goy do it. The goy can't drive you in the car on Shabbos. It can't be a chauffeur. So the same thing even in the house, different malachas that you have in the house, the guy can't cook on Shabbos for you, and he can't do. So there are a lot of other things. The guy can't turn on lights for you on Shabbos. He can't turn on lights for you on Shabbos. Maybe he could turn off lights. Might be different. Off lights is where you're not having benefit from the act of the guy. Anyways, we're not going to get into the halachas of Amir al-Nachri, but what we hear is permissible because in general the rule is there's a general rule by Amir al-Nachri. You're allowed to have a goy do a derabanan, something which is an issa derabanan, and there's which is called a shvus, or there's a great need, at Tzorech Gadol, or there's someone who's not feeling well, makom chayli, or there is a great loss. There's a great loss, or there's a mitzvah involved. In any of these situations, if the Isser is an Isser D'Rabbanan, when it comes to people being sick, obviously there's different levels, someone seriously sick is, Now, so the rule is that you're allowed to have a goy do an Isser D'Rabbanan in any of these cases. And the way this klal is termed in halacha, the telling of a goy to do something on Shabbos is not asim in HaTorah, it's asim in D'Rabbanan, it's also called a shvus. So the heter is called, in order to have a goy do something for you, it's called a shvus. The shvus, you have to have two derabanan. There's a shvus, the shvus. You have the goy, who's one shvus, telling the goy to do a derabanan, which is a second shvus. It's called a shvus, the shvus. B'makim, in a situation where you have b'makim mitzvah, b'makim tzorech gadol, situation in great need, b'makim hefsid. So over here in this case, when a person is going to remove the cream from the milk, and he's doing it in the manner where there's no shayla bayrer, because he's leaving the bottom layer of cream, he's leaving still attached to the milk, on the top of the milk. He's leaving that bottom layer, so he's not actually really leaving bayrer, he's just taking the upper parts of the cream that actually are not touching the milk. that floated to the top. So there's no Shaila Bayra here, which would be an Issa Deraisa. So the only issue would be here is if he's doing this for today, there's no issue at all, it's mutter. But if he's having kavanah that maybe this is for tomorrow, I need it for Sunday, I want to get ready for Sunday, or Matzah Shabbos, I'm having a Lava Malka, I'm having a parlor meeting, it's Asr. However, Alter Rebbe explains, based on the Magen Avram and the Rishonim, that if you're doing it because you're going to suffer a loss, a great loss from, let's say, all this milk which you have, and if you're going to leave the cream on the top, the cream is going to, I'm not sure what's going to happen exactly, I'm not a farmer, but maybe the cream is going to mix with the milk and get spoiled, something, it needs to be separated right away. So then, it's mutter to do it, because you have the klal, a shvus, b'makim hefsid. One telling a guy to do it is the Rabbanan. The guy you're asking to do an Issa Rabbanan, when you're asking just to do tircha, the Issa over here is just, you're not actually doing a malacha here. You're not cooking for tomorrow, which could be an Issa Minat Torah. You're not doing, you're doing something which is work, tircha. You're doing something which is also with the Rabbanan. Chacham did not want us to matriach ourselves for tomorrow. Someone wants to set up all the chairs and tables for a bas mitzvah, which is happening on Sunday, on Shabbos. That's also only midrabanan. It's also because you're preparing, you're not doing a malacha, what's setting up chairs? I did something wrong, you're allowed to set up chairs on Shabbos. And yes, minat Torah, you're allowed to set up chairs on Shabbos. Even for Sunday, midrabanan, Chacham did not want us on Shabbos busy thinking about Sunday a whole day. Busy thinking about Matzah Shabbos. Think about today. So therefore they answered it. It's because of tircha. You're being matriach for Shabbos L'chayil. But in a case where there's also a loss involved, there's a hefsid, so we go to the klal of shvus b'makim hefsid, and it's mutter. You're allowed to ask the guy to do it for you. Yeah. This could sometimes be negay. I'll just throw out an example, by the way. You know, let's say, one day Yom Tov to the second day Yom Tov, you're also not allowed to prepare. Similarly, you're not allowed to prepare one day Yom Tov, the next day Yom Tov. What happens if you have a shliach somewhere out there, and he's making two sedarim, two seders, and the second night, he's expecting a huge crowd, a few hundred people are coming, a big oilam is coming, a lot of guests are coming. And if he doesn't prepare anything before, and he only starts when it's nightfall, he's not gonna have to say they're gonna all go home.
They'll go home.
They're gonna go home. They're not here sitting around the whole night. They're gonna start setting up chairs and tables. So there you can have an idea of thinking where a Rav can say, it's a derabanan. It's just setting up chairs, setting up the tables, and not actually, and it's a tzorech gadol, because people are not going to be able to have the seder, the suda, and, maybe to say that you can have a goy do it for you. Maybe you can have certain, this is just an example of something. So let's take a look inside. So let's look inside. We're holding 3 lines from the bottom of page Tov Kuf Mem Vav.
Can I ask one fast question?
Yeah, sure.
Talking about this. You have an old woman that's living in her home, and you have a goy coming over to your house, taking food, and bringing it to that older woman.
I mean, it should be done before Shabbos. If the Shiloh is if someone forgot.
But it's on Shabbos.
Oh, it should be done before Shabbos. If something, the question is if it was some reason it was forgotten and the lady doesn't have food, she doesn't have food, so you have.
It really doesn't have like a meal really to eat.
Well,
Is that called a malacha?
Yeah, carrying is a malacha. Carrying is one of the lamitas malachas,
right.
but
You hold that Erev.
right. So you have an eruv here, so you can always get someone who holds the eruv to carry for you. So he could do it. He could do the mitzvah.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, it should be these type of things. I want to tell you something else about this rule. Important klal. This rule, Chazal were very makbid with a goy. They didn't want Shabbos to become like, You know, you have
Easy
the guy
going.
do everything for you.
Easy going.
So they were very makbid about the dinim of Amir al-Nachri when they were matter, when they were asked, and it's very difficult halachas. But in general, this rule that we just spoke about, this rule itself is only b'diavad. Meaning, before Shabbos, one is not supposed to say, oh, I'll be able to do it tomorrow because I have shvus to shvus. It's 2 derabanans and I have a makim mitzvah, makim hefsed, I could do it tomorrow. No. If you have the ability to deal with it Erev Shabbos,
Do it.
you should do it Erev Shabbos. Or if you have another way on Shabbos to deal with it without getting into the heter, better to do it some other way. If you have no choice, you have it a very legitimate heter. There's no shilas about this heter. It's a clear in Shulchan Aruch, but it's not supposed to be used l'chatchila. So this case, the lady definitely, some arrangement should be made at Erev Shabbos. Food should be brought to her, whatever she needs for Shabbos. If for some reason she has no food and it's a tzorich, then she needs food to eat, right? But also the question is, what does it mean she has no food? She doesn't have a huge sort of Shabbos, that's not really necessarily part of the tzorich, It has to be shayla how much of a tzorich it is.
Chulent. She need a hot chulent. Hot cooler.
What about the idea that you're giving it to
And what about a
goy?
kishka? What about a
So
kishka?
that-
Kishka too.
You're giving it in your mind. You know that it's for the older woman, but in your mind you're giving it to the goy, and she's saying it's for me.
You're giving to the guy for the guy?
Yeah.
And then he is nice guy and go ahead and give it to the lady.
Yeah.
So hey, who made the mitzvah?
No, well, over here everyone knows the truth. It's not
Okay.
just not saying it, but it's
Okay.
that's not going to help. A goy can't. If a goy comes to your house and wants to do a favor for you and turn on your lights, you're not allowed to let him turn on your lights. You tell him to stop.
Well,
If he does, you're not allowed to have enough benefit from those lights. Now, if he doesn't listen to you, then you don't have to leave the room. He's not listening to you. You're
This
stopping.
boy that is getting the food is also eating the food.
Oh, they're also eating the food.
Yeah.
Well, wait, that happened
Yes.
on a sukkah.
What happens
That
then?
makes it more
The,
complicated.
the lights went out.
Now you have to ask a Rav. If the guy is eating the food, if the guy is also eating that meal,
Yeah.
they're doing it for themselves also.
Right.
So then that's another. That has to be thought about.
They're
Otherwise,
you're giving to her.
worked out the details.
On sukkahs, the lights went out, and the balabusta.
Main thing is that a guy is not allowed to do something for the yid. If the guy does something for himself, if a guy comes to a room and lights a light, there was a story like I think it was in the times of Tzemach Tzedek, that they needed a light in one of the rooms. So they called the guy into the room. They had a guy to help for Shabbos, whatever it was, the guy who helped around. And they brought him and said, we want to give you a little schnapps, you can go in and take a little schnapps. So he came over and he lit the fire, he lit the lamp, and he took the schnapps. But the problem was, before he left the room, he was a very nice menschliche person. He put it out. So they had to do it again.
He didn't get it.
Once he already did it for himself, you could tell him not to put it out. He did it for himself. He didn't do it for you, and you just told him don't put it out. He doesn't have to put it out.
No, you made a trick to get him.
You could have made. The question is what the guy thinks, not what you think. The question is what the guy thinks. So the guy thinks, am I doing this for the Jew? Or am I not doing it for the Jew? Basically, it's based on the concept of shlichus. Concept of the Mir Lachri is he my shliach or not my shliach? If he doesn't think if he's doing it for himself, he lit a candle in a room and for his own benefit. You have a cleaning lady. People have sometimes cleaning ladies in their house to have help come around on Shabbos or something like that. And cleaning lady goes into a room to clean the room and turns on the light. And now they leave. That light's nothing wrong. That was they put on because they wanted the light on. Okay, we're going off on a tangent.
Ladies in Shabbos are very, very difficult.
Okay, so you have
They
to
do
read
so
up a
much
little
more
bit,
less
read up a little bit
really
on some handbooks on Amir and Achri and work it out.
It's a very, very difficult. All these ladies, they're walking in the house of Shabbos. But you need it. You can't have the house without it. You have a full house with kid or a sink or something. You must have it.
Turning off a light, by the way, is different than turning on a light. Turning off a light is different because there's no benefit from...
Go to sleep now.
Right, but there's no benefit from the actual turning off. There's the absence of the light. There's no benefit from the work
There's
itself.
also not
There's
to
no-
share a fire.
The lashon halach is that it's ein gufay nena. The guf is not nena from the malacha. When you turn on a light, you're basking in the light, you're enjoying the light. But when you turn off a light, you don't directly benefit. You benefit that the light's off. But darkness itself is not a
You're
benefit.
shutting off a fire on Shabbos. That's the problem.
That's a machlokes about it. But according, there's much more room to this room, and it gets very complicated because even then there's two aspects. You're not allowed to tell the guy to do a malach on Shabbos unless it's the way we said before. It's shvus to shvus b'makom mitzvah. It's two derabbanans, and it's a derabbanan. You're telling the guy to do a derabbanan, and it's a makom mitzvah, makom tzarech gadol, makom hefsed, lost. Then you're allowed to do it. However, if you don't have those equations, let's say it's a malacha min haTorah, turning on a fire. It's a malacha min haTorah. So then if it's something like that you have benefits from, direct benefits, even if the guy did it on his own without telling you, it's a problem. But what happens if I didn't tell the guy to do it? Good, but he still did it for you. But what happens if he turned off a light? So I'm not allowed to tell him to turn off the light because I told him to do work on Shabbos. And I'm not allowed to tell him to turn off the light. But if
He went on his own. And
no, what happens if I didn't tell him? I said to him, it's very light in the room. I can't fall asleep. My child can't fall asleep.
He got the hint.
So and I just like said it in a way of a hint, and I didn't even hint he should do it. I just made like a statement, a story like, and he on his own did it. Obviously he got the hint. And by the way, it's not always easy to these type of things. They don't always get the hint, but you tell them this, and then they do it, and the act itself, there's no benefit from it. Like the light is off, so it's not a direct benefit, or the turning the oven off. There's not a benefit from it. It's just an indirect benefit. So then there's room to make. For turning off lights, b'chlal, if it's a child that needs to fall asleep, or possibly maybe even an adult in certain situations, is easier to tell a guy because turning off a light is basically an issa d'rabbanan.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask that. Turning on the light and turning off the light is not exactly the same for a Jew.
Right.
For a Jew, it's not.
No, it's the rabbanan and one's the raisa.
Wow.
Not all lights are the raisa, but certain lights could be the raisa.
But for Torah Chibu is very hot in the shul. And the
That's
goy
it.
tell the goy,
That's your law.
come to the room, it's very hot.
Yeah, that's your lot. You
Don't tell him to open the air conditioner.
Yeah, we have.
You can tell him?
Okay,
Yeah, you can show them what to do.
heating, when you have things which are, Chazal said when it comes to heat, turning on a fire on Shabbos, they were matter having a goy put on a fire on Shabbos because if it's very cold. Not just it's not you're not comfortable. You're not comfortable, but if it's cold,
What do you do?
it's very cold, then because this can bring sickness and everything. Chazal said you're allowed to have the goy, and the goyim would come in the shtetl. The goyim would come. They would have the fire. They would need to replenish the firewood. Shabbos every day.
To make the house warm.
Every day the guy would come so the guy would come every Shabbos and put in firewood on Shabbos.
Can you tell him directly in that case?
Yeah. Yeah.
Directly.
You tell him,
They used to
okay.
do it.
Now the same thing as Poiskim say the opposite with air conditioning today,
Yeah.
which is not the same. We're gonna remember Rabbi say air conditioning was only invented recently, but
you're allowed
they
to
survived.
put
We
the goy-
survived for many years with air conditioning.
You're allowed to tell them.
But the Maisa, it depends what the level is. If it's a comfortability issue, you're not allowed to have the guy turn the air conditioner. But if it's unbearable,
Sweating.
it's
So hot,
unbearable.
you can't. It's a
Let's say you have older people or children,
That's it.
which the heat is very. We hear stories in the summer here, people in the heat
Good
waves,
things.
and people in Nebachar Nifter, and it's you have to be very careful. You have a shul, and you have people here, older people, children. You have to wait to realize that these situations. But stam for comfortability reasons, you don't have a heter to open up.
What about
You can't
only
tell the boy to
Shabbat?
put a
Not everything in Yiddishkeit is easy.
Easy. It depends how you take it. I told you, I was in my mind for Shabbos with my mother-in-law. It was 9 o'clock. my mother don't need to sleep. So I told the nurse, Shmata, she's going to sleep now. So why you want me to shut off the light? The rabbi said you could do it. She told me, you want me to shut off the light? The rabbi said you could do it. I was like, oh.
No, but then in the situation of your mother-in-law.
The point is they know after lachas. No, like you said before, you have to be careful with the goy. Sometimes the goy will do something that will be not good for you. When they know too much, it's also not good.
Yeah.
If you recall, a number of years ago in the summer, there was a heat wave here. It was like 105.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes,
It was a Shabbos, an unbearable.
Yeah.
Remember that Shabbos?
Yeah.
So my house, the air conditioning was all the electric was
the power. They cut the power. They didn't give you so much power to the house.
the electric kept on going out.
Right.
So I couldn't have this issue, and I couldn't have all the air conditioners on. Basically, I called in one guy on Shabbos, to do it, and after it went out, I called another guy and kept on trying to switch the wires. In the ending, I gave up, and only one bedroom had air conditioning. And it was an unbearable that Shabbos. It was mamash 105. So I had the entire family
In one room.
in one room, and with also sister-in-law and everyone there.
It's good.
I slept on the couch. I was on the couch. I was fine, I had the downstairs air conditioning, but I wasn't matzliach to get all the.
But there was a second nefesh, so
Good. The truth is, it's not sakana to sleep in one room. So if you're not able to, really, you can sleep in one.
in our shul over here, we had 3 times that the air conditioner went off on Shabbos. We called a guy from outside.
I mean, if it's that big a second time, you can't get a goy. Are you allowed to do it with shinui?
If it's a sakana, it's a sakana.
Like I told how I told
So, at a high tzorah, I would say a high tzorah, can you do it with shinui? If you can't find the goy?
If you have children and older people, yeah. You have children, older people, but you have to be careful with these dinners, And people just say, "Oh, I'll just use the back of my hand and do any malacha." It's not. I turned on the stove with the back of my hand. It's not mutter. In situations where you have
Put the gloves and turn it.
you have children, you have this.
Now, when the idea of bringing like medicine to somebody, you can't carry it, but can you put it in your hat?
Okay, that's about getting in a lot of different things. Yeah, listen, it all depends on the situation. How much the person needs the medicine and everything. In general, we have to deal with these things before Shabbos, and whenever on Shabbos, then.
If there's a gas range that goes off on Shabbos, there's a fire and it comes out low. It's low, but it's low gas.
I would turn it off with the back of my hands. The issue, shiloh over here is only a shiloh of according to some places you could turn it off. Some places say it's muksa. Just turn it with the back of your hand. You won't have any shilohs about it. And it's a dangerous thing to have gas in the house. It's a danger, and it's very unhealthy. So you have to get it off.
Yeah.
You have to get it off.
Was it better to ask a goy to do it, or is it better if you do it yourself?
I don't think you need to ask a guy to do it. If you have a guy, you can have a guy do it. You have a guy. But if you don't have to go on the street, you can do it with the back of your hand. Because the turning on for the gas is not really such a major issue. It's not. Yeah.
You're not creating a new fire or something. You're just shutting off a valve.
Some Rabbanim matter and Yom Tov to shut off the gas range because they hope it's not really. You're just turning off the gas and then the fire turns out. It's not actually.
What about the idea of a splinter in your finger?
Okay, now boys say no, we're going off the game. We're going to have to back the bite over here.
The needle.
Now we're going to splinters.
Might draw blood. What do you do?
Okay, now boys say top of Tafkul Mem Zayin. Imreitza la'ochle la'alter. If one eats, not everything on one foot. That's only by Hillel. Imreitza la'ochle la'alter. Hinitzarech laniach men aklum im acholov. What happens if one wants to eat the cream on top of the milk immediately, for immediate use? You don't need to leave any parts with the milk because you're taking what you want, the oichel, you're eating it la'alter immediately, so there's no issue to the biter. V'chein amayra mimashke mikri v'chaveiroi ein itzar lahafse k'shiyardin at sutzais. Someone who pours from a drink, a liquid, one vessel to another vessel, does not need to stop when the last last parts of liquid are pouring out. If you want to drink it immediately, this whole thing that we spoke earlier, that you're not allowed to pour out the wine, which has sediments on the bottom, and when it comes close to the sediments, you have to stop before the wine leaves the sediments by itself, because it's bitter, is only when you're not planning on drinking the wine right away. But if you're going to drink the wine right away, you're pouring it into something to drink the wine right away, without any sediments, it's not a problem. So you don't have to leave any parts of wine in here. Kol sheni boirai de keli, as long as you don't use a keli, a special boirer keli. El biyadi, with one's hands. The kan over here, after ma'idem mikli kli, that you're doing from one bowl to another bowl, that's not considered doing the boirer with a keli. It's just a bowl that holds it. Calling ikim abreda nasa. It's happening with your hands. You're pouring it in your hands. Unless you use a cheesecloth, some type of cloth, and you pour the wine on it, and the sediments remain on the top, and the wine goes through, then into the barrel. And I want to tell you something about this. This halacha, the Alter Rebbe changed his mind later on in life. When he wrote his Siddur, he changed what he wrote over here. You see, the question is like this. When one pours out from a cup, what is considered what you're taking? You're not in Shabbos allowed to, you have to take the good from the bad and not the bad from the good. What constitutes taking? When I'm pouring out from a cup, is what the wine or the water which leaves the cup, is that what I'm taking? Or what I'm left with in my hand is what I'm taking? So in the Shulchan Aruch, the Alter Rebbe followed the opinion of the Magen Avram, which held that whatever you pour out is what you're taking. So you're pouring out the good wine, the wine which you want, that's what you're taking. What remains is not what you're taking. That's just in your hand. You're not taking it. So you're allowed to pour out the wine if you're going to drink it right away, even though you will be left just with sediments. You'll pour all the wine, drops until the last very drop of wine, and you'll do slowly. And what will be left in this cup will just be the sediments, which is called psoilus, which you don't want to eat.
What you want.
Not only not what you want. No one eats the sediments. It's not stuff people eat. It's not food. People don't eat it. It's just the pieces, the broken pieces of psoilus. It's fine because I took the oichel from the psoilus. I'm doing it to drink the wine in this cup, the clean wine, the pure wine in this cup. I want to drink now a nice cup of wine. I want to serve for the guests. It's fine. But in the Siddur, Alter Rebbe changed his mind. He said, no. Whatever's in your hand is considered what you're taking. So if you leave only the psoilus, that means you took psoilus from Eichel.
Mm-hmm. So what do you do? You should leave a
and I'll tell you an example. What he said.
You should leave a little bit in the cup.
What happens these days, I think people would not necessarily drink it, but those days, what happens if you had a fly? Typical case was discussed by the Paiskin. A fly fell into your wine. You had a big barrel of wine, and then you took a cup from it. There's usually a fly in the top over there or something. It's not, I'm probably in the company also there's flies there, By the time they get to us, they clean it all out. So, there's a fly in there, a little bug, and you want to pour it out. Now, today in America, most people will just get another cup of wine, if there's a fly in the thing. But I just talk the way it was those days. Or there's a piece of cork in there, so that's more practical. Sometimes you have a little piece of cork in there, so that's okay. The wine's good. You just want to get rid of the piece. So the Alter Rebbe says you're allowed to pour it out, and it should fall out. You can pour out the bug or whatever particle you want to pour, just that piece out like that. You can pour it out. You're pouring out the psoilus.
What's left in your
No, whatever's left in your hand is what you're taking.
I can take a spoon into it, right?
But for the spoon, not just no spoon, just using the cup. I'm just pouring out like this. I'll tell you, so you're allowed to do that. Pour out the psoilus, because whatever I have in my hand is what I'm taking. So I'm taking the oichel, not the psoilus. In the Shulchan Aruch, he said the opposite. If you are allowed to pour the wine out, which has sediments on the bottom, till pour out every last drop of wine. Even though you're left with sediments in your hand, it's not considered like you took the psoilus from the oichel, which is also from Bayr. No, it's considered like you took the oichel from the psoilus. So this is a machlokes of Gedoyle HaPoiskim, how do we view pouring from a cup or a bowl? Is that considered taking what left is what you're taking, what remains is what you're taking? What's the mizbarer? And that's a very big machlokes, and everyone is machulik in this issue.
When you're
How
pouring
about
out the bug,
Batashta?
what's the Batashta is what you're holding.
When
in
you
one
are
cube.
pouring.
You're pouring out the bug. Batashta, you're still holding the cup. You're not taking it out of the cup. You're not going to eat the flour.
No, you can't do that. Oh, with it.
What's the raya though that you change
That's
the
what
thing?
people do.
Yeah, that's what's the spoon with the thing and out.
Because he did food.
That's for sure that it's not
Food,
going
the
to
food. Yeah, that's what people do.
Yeah.
Or you take a knife.
It's true, but even when someone takes the psilos and he has a whole pile, takes the psilos, he takes the shell out from a pile of nuts. He also is not going to eat the nuts, but still he took the psilos. Child, what's the act of taking? What do we look as taking?
That's bayra.
What's the bayra? Bayra is not. There's two things: is whether that there is the whether it is oichel or psilos. So we know the psilos is the
You're saying
zvul.
the action of taking out the bug is the bayra.
The question is, what direction is what is considered taking? Forget out the bug. You're pouring wine out from a cup. So when you pour out
the
the
raya, you change his opinion. It's the bug story.
They know it's
well,
it's kosher.
because the fact of the matter is, Ein Hanami, his kavana is to get rid of the bug and to drink this wine. But Lamaisa, Shiloh, what's the act? What's the act of taking? When I do a pouring, I move my hand,
Right.
and so sort of like I
It's
took.
cups. The
I
question
took.
is which one?
You're right.
But here the bug is out. Maybe you're not taking the bug. I mean, the
No,
cup
it's
here,
not to do with two
cups.
bowls. It's not to do with two bowls. It has to do with whether my motion that I'm moving it this way. That consider what I'm moving, like sort of like I'm pushing. This is what I'm taking out of the
I know
pile.
that's what you want to say, but what's the raya though? Meaning,
I want to tell you something else. Later on the
And
Shulchan
that's what you
Aruch,
do take it these days? If something fall into the cup?
I want to tell you something. A story I heard from someone, an older yid. He's kind of in his 80s. He taught me as when in yeshiva. He recently told me. He taught me in 5th grade. He told me that Rabbi Egghaus, he told me that his uncle was a very staunch Gerer Chassid, and he was by the Gerer Rebbe, the Imri Emes, who was nifter in 1948. Pretty sure it was by the Imri Emes, yeah. And he was by a meal by his house, on Shabbos, and in his soup, there fell a little particle, something that he didn't want to eat, psilis. Now everyone was watching to see how's he gonna deal with it. Here's a big Rebbe, a world Rebbe, a Gerer Rebbe, big tzaddik, and how's he going to deal with this? Now, before we get to the story, what he did, I wanted to talk about something else. The Taz had a very big, easy solution how to deal with all these problems, like the piece of the cork, the bug. His was take it out with a spoon, and take it out with a little bit of wine with it, a little liquid or soup, whatever with it. And it's not considered bayra because I didn't just take out the psilos, I took oichel with it also. So that's what the Taz held. In the Shulchan Aruch, the Alter Rebbe later, in a few sifim later, Sif Chav Daled, he held to that. He held like the Taz that you could do that. You can put in a spoon and do that as long as you take a little bit of oichel with it. However, in his Siddur, he was very against it. In his Siddur, he wrote not to rely on the very common heter, he says, to do this. Not to rely on this. And he doesn't explain exactly why, but it seems because he felt that the liquid, which is with the piece, is like, it's so little, it's like bottled to whatever you're taking out. It's not. It seems clear, obvious, clear bayr. It's not like if you take out a whole lot of liquid, maybe you could tie in but a little bit of liquid, it's not clear. So Lamai said, therefore the Alter Rebbe had to come out. Therefore the Alter Rebbe, this is connected to another chiddush of his, that he held that you could pour it out this way because whatever's in your hand. So everyone was waiting to see the Gerer Rebbe. Is he going to follow the Taz, which the Alter Rebbe and Shulchan Aruch paskin like him, that you could take it out with a spoon and just pour it out with a little bit of soup with it? Or, if he held like the Alter Rebbe in the Siddur, which he was chayzer, he went back and he held you're not allowed to follow the psak of the Taz. He was very, pretty strict about it. He had strong lashonis not to rely on his heter of the Taz to take it out with good, take out the psayos with good. Which, by the way, the Velt, I think outside Lubavitch, most people are makel in it. I don't know about some of the Chassidish about might be more machmir to the Alter Rebbe and the Siddur, but I think the Mishabrura is Mekel, so most people in the Welt are Mekel. But here's the Ger Rebbe, he's a Rebbe, a Chassidish Rebbe, so the Alter Rebbe, you know, well, what's he going to do? What he did was like this. He took the entire soup bowl, he picked it up in the air, he put his hand, he held the soup bowl with one hand, he put the spoon, the other hand underneath the particle, the piece of the psilus that was in the soup, but he didn't pick it up, he didn't lift it. He left his spoon underneath it, then he pulled the soup bowl down without moving his hand. So he pulled the oichel from the psilus. This is his chap. He did it instantly. Without moving the hand at all that held the psilus, he moved the soup bowl away from the particle. So he was taking the soup, the oichel from the psilus. So he was yaitze the Alter Rebbe sheet in the Siddur also.
What do you do? He held it down.
It's already written about Mrs. Svarim about it, but I heard it from the nephew, heard it from his uncle, was there b'shas Maisa, so I said over, but I already saw in Svarim bringing down this
Does the
Maisa.
Alter Rebbe agree with that?
Yeah, no problem with that.
Rabbi.
It's the best solution because the soup, it's not like a becher where you can start pouring. What are you going to do with the soup? How are you going to get that piece out? So there really was no other way for him to salvage that soup. I'm sure the Rebbe had another soup while waiting for him, but you know, how was he going to attach this and salvage that soup? Was the chap that he had this chap. To be yaitze all the days.
Wow.
Is there a problem with how would you open up a can of olives?
I have one here, I have one.
Right, the can of olives has the liquid in there and it has the olives.
How would you take out the liquid
So
and olives?
what's the best way to get those olives out? And the liquid is the liquid.
Why don't you just take out the olives? Take out the olives. Just take the olives out with a
If I
spoon.
pour the olives, the can, and let one olive fall, will the liquid follow? Is there a problem with that? I'm opening up the can. There's liquid olives in that can. I'm pouring it out. I'm letting one olive out.
The problem is opening the can.
What I would tell you to do
The
is,
can's a flip open can.
what I would tell you to do, I tell you what to do is to put in a spoon and take out the olives. That's what I tell you.
Uh-huh.
That's the best thing to do. Boira on Shabbos gets us to think.
No, the problem is opening up the can, making a candy.
So you're talking in a way that he did in Eifel,
No.
which is mutter.
Ask the rabbi.
Making a candy.
Let's say the can is open.